Hello and welcome to what the heck was that? Was that Rod?
That was my phone.
Was it?
I didn't have the volume turned down, so when you heard us.
I thought something dropped in the Weather Center. I apologize, Rod.
Not I.
He's holding on to that cup of coffee with a firm grip, as is Brendan now. We are talking about an issue that, actually, Brenda, talking to you just a moment ago about all you have to do this week for work, I'm afraid that you might fall into this category soon. That you might walk away from the job. Please don't do that. We are talking about women specifically walking away from work. It's a trend that really started at the beginning of the pandemic, but it's picked up steam here in the last month. It's not just a local trend, it's really nationwide, but we have seen the numbers increase here in Oregon as well. And one of the main reasons given by women who are walking, again, not being fired, they're walking away from their jobs voluntarily, and one of the main reasons given is the fact that they have to help their kids with distance learning.
Yeah. I mean, there were like 4 different reasons. Should we start with Nina Melhoff's package, her story?
It's a great idea.
She laid it out beautifully. Take a listen.
And it was just really a sit down and a run of the numbers and what things would look like is really how the decision came to be. And it made sense. He made quite a bit more than I did.
That's how Ray Davenport ended up at home all day with her daughter in Longview, Washington. Ray worked as a children's after-school program manager. COVID hit and she was cut to part-time, so she left her job to focus on helping her daughter with virtual learning.
It's hard. You know, I spent 5 years in the job that I was in. I loved it. I had planned on retiring with that job.
Ray was one of 200 sharing their story when we posted the headline on Facebook. Vicki Huber was another, writing, "I'm sure I'm not the only mother who has chosen to place college education on hold due to helping their children with distance learning. This will be felt for years." Or Trudy, "I left a great job, my dream job actually, to work with my kids through online schooling. Hardest decision I've ever made." The 4 top reasons why women are leaving the workforce. Number 1, be home for kids doing online school. 2, feeling burnout, juggling work, housework, and kids being home. 3, negative feeling about job performance under so much pressure. And 4, their partner makes better money, so they keep working.
Well, it's not a surprise.
Amy Germain runs Accelerate, a Portland nonprofit for women entrepreneurs, matching them with mentors, funding, and education. 60% of her clients report feeling real distress right now.
The loss of business closures, coupled with no bandwidth, anxiety, depression, elder care, and the pressure on your own mental health well-being trying to get through an unprecedented pandemic. But women are really bearing this brunt.
Data shows mothers are 3 times as likely as fathers to be responsible for a majority of housework and childcare during COVID-19. Minority women are seeing even higher rates of unemployment and leaving the workforce. Then there are those households like Ashley Claiborne's in Roseburg.
How real is this? What's the stress level for you guys?
My husband has had moments where he starts to look like Jack from The Shining, but he always pulls back.
Ashley was the one to stay working. Her husband quit his job to be home with their 2 girls.
It does make me feel a little guilty, like I'm kind of running off and getting to take a break from all that, and he's essentially stuck there.
The bright spot that could come out of this, people are realizing what truly makes them happy, and that could lead to a career change.
So I do believe that women are questioning themselves and finding new and creative ways. Women are always very resilient and will find new innovative ways to kind of survive.
Nina Melhoff, KGW News.
I do totally agree with her. Women are resilient. Moms find a way to cobble it all together, but it is stressful. You have to have kind of your support network. Hopefully you've got your partner at home, which would be dad.
Right.
I'd be curious to know from both of you how the women in your lives are dealing with all this.
Rod, you want to go first?
Well, I'll go first. I mean, we're very lucky. We get by on the money I make here at the TV station. My wife is a stay-at-home mom, so she's with our daughter. But, I mean, there's not a doubt in my mind if Grayson were working, one of us would have had to quit to be home with Natasha with this remote learning. I don't know. unless you have the money and you can hire a nanny to be with your child, I don't know how you can just, both parents can work and have, a 12-year-old or a 10-year-old or a 13-year-old kid at home by themselves with remote learning. That's not even a possibility, really, is it? Yeah, I don't know.
Well, I'm watching this piece that Nina put together, and I'm thinking about my own wife and our situation at home right now, because Mia is working from home and has been since the middle of March. And she used to go downtown. She had an office building right by OMSI on the east side there. They stopped going into work. They're doing everything remotely. Lots of Zoom calls every day, right? And then the kids are obviously home with school. So many days it is a struggle just to kind of get the work done, because we don't have the bandwidth for the internet in our house for all three of them to be Zooming at once.
Oh, wow.
And that was a big project for my wife yesterday, trying to figure it out. How can we tackle this? And some of the research she was doing led her to find out a lot of people where we live actually now are going with like two providers, like Xfinity and CenturyLink, for example. Wow. And they're using one provider to handle the kids' school workload, and then they're using the other provider to take care of what they need for work. It's crazy, because we've had CenturyLink now for over a year. It was never an issue, never had a problem. Just wasn't even something we thought about, because it was plenty. But now there's not enough there, and she's totally stressed. And also, I'll say this about Mia real quick. Like last week, great example. She figured it out probably 60 hours without ever leaving the house.
Wow.
I mean, it's crazy how many hours she's in that office at home at, say, 8:30 every day, and last week she wasn't getting done with work till 6 or 6:30 at night.
But Drew, can I ask real quick, would you guys have a plan if Mia's employer said, hey, Mia, starting next week, you have to come to the office 40 hours a week? What would you guys do? You wouldn't just leave your kids at home. You can't.
Mia is the director of operations, Rod, at her business.
But if
she tells the owner what's going on. No, I know. It would be tough. So I don't know what we do. The boys are 13, so technically they could stay home and be alone, I guess, and tackle the schoolwork on their own, which they already do. I mean, they are doing all of their schoolwork on their own. Mia's not really helping with that. I was telling Brenda what she deals with is like the the fighting that begins every day between
the
those
referee.
two. Yes, like, hey, what did you get for number 12? What did you get for number 12? Caleb! And then he's like, I'm not telling you. Do it yourself. Mom! And this whole, and she's, I'm on a Zoom call. It's craziness.
Okay, so listen to this. Jason Troyer is weighing in on the stream. He's a single dad of 3 kids, ages 10, 6, and 3, working full time. Jason, you have to text more. You have to tell us, give me a little more detail. My goodness. I mean, that is something else. Let's see.
Yeah, I mean, Renee Robertson, who we hear from often here on Sunrise Extra, specifically on the Facebook live stream, she says this pandemic has surely flipped our world upside down. Absolutely has.
It has.
You make a good point, Rod. I don't know what we would do. I know that Mia likes working from home. She wants to continue working from home. She prefer that. What she doesn't like, or what she never liked doing before, was the commute. Right. Driving into downtown, driving home from there. And obviously with the situation in downtown and what that looks like right now, she didn't always feel safe walking to and from her car, to be quite honest with you. So she likes the at-home idea, but it is tough to try to get it all done in the confines of that home office. We're just not set up at home the way her office was to handle the workload.
Yeah.
Tammy Hillebrand Burkhart says, my employer is allowing alternate schedules for parents to assist our kids and communicating to all staff to be patient and kind in waiting for email responses to questions.
Yeah.
Where do you work? You should give your employer a shout out. That sounds amazing.
Yes.
Yeah, I wonder, I'm kind of wrapped up in this, kids are in school. Someone has to be home with them while they're in school at home. And I'm wondering how difficult it is now for people that have the financial means to even find a nanny or a care person, to hire to be in the house with the kids during the day. I'm guessing there's probably a shortage. I don't know. I'm just guessing that would be difficult to find.
It's a catch-22, right? Now more than ever, families need some help with childcare. And now more than ever, many families cannot afford that help. It is really sad, and that's a good point that you make there, Rod. So we posted this question. I mean, obviously you can answer right now live, but we posted the same idea and the same question about how working from home, kids learning from home, how it's affecting your life. Jenny Sullivan weighed in earlier on our Facebook page saying, officially a stay-at-home mom now. I couldn't balance work, distance learning, no daycare, allowing my husband that works at nights time to sleep during the day. My husband makes more money than I do anyway, so it was an adjustment for sure, but no daycare means one less expense.
Yeah.
Next up is Jesse. Jesse says, luckily enough, I was able to start working from home back in January. I work around my kids' school schedule. I know how fortunate I am to have this opportunity. I feel for the millions that feel like they need to choose between the kids and a paycheck.
Yeah, well put. Yeah.
You want to take this one, Brenda? Can you see Kim's
Kim
comment?
says, I left my job, my retirement, my health benefits, my home, my friends, my lifestyle to move to Florida to take care of my parents. You talk about that, the sandwich generation. You definitely have your kids and then aging parents is really tough. And Ginger says retired, did not want to risk it, and helping the childcare thing by being quarantined for grandchildren. Oh my gosh, can we just give a shout out to all the grandparents out there? I mean, anybody who has the privilege of having their grandparents able to be close by and take care of those kids. We never had to put ours in daycare because we had sets of grandparents who, when they were little, would move heaven and earth to come stay with them. Rod, I know you're like going, yes, because
well, so my wife's
got a great
parents,
situation.
Yeah, my wife's parents live with us. Now, for the record, if you're one of my neighbors and you see Grandpa Kim out mowing the yard, I know it's tough work, but I let him do it because it's important for him to stay busy.
Oh, go ahead and keep digging. We're not going to help you.
What a son-in-law. What a son-in-law. Do you remember when we started Sunrise Extra? It's been about a year and a half ago now, at least. We had a viewer named Ginny Carlson who was in every day on The Conversation. I believe this is Ginny, but she now is going by Virginia Carlson.
Oh, wow.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Ginny. Virginia Carlson this morning says the social losses will be felt long after this is over. She says, my son is a junior and he's on the spectrum. I work full time. We manage with evening follow-up. Every family right now is struggling, she says.
Yeah. And Terry Hogenkamp says, I've been working from home for years. My issue is that once I'm off work, I have to cart my daughter around, and she has 2 toddlers and no car. So I'm doing runs to the grocery store, the laundromat, no time to keep up my own place. I'm at a dead run from 5 a.m. to 8 or 9 at night. God bless you. That's love. That's some hard stuff.
Yeah.
Every
we
situation,
do that if we can for family.
Every situation is different, and that's why last week, Brenda, I found it difficult. Rod, I don't think you were part of the Sunrise Extra conversation on Friday when we had Kristen Severance with us, our investigative reporter, talking about the struggles of distance learning, what certain families are going through. Every family has a different situation, right? Every school district is different in Oregon and Southwest Washington. Every family I know has a unique situation. So it's really tough to talk about this subject sort of as a whole. Because I know, quite frankly, as rough as it can be at home, and maybe I shouldn't be the one speaking about this, maybe we should get Mia on the call and let her weigh in. But I know that our situation with 2 13-year-olds, far better than what it would be if those boys were still like in 2nd grade. And you can't expect a 2nd grader to hop online and handle Zoom calls and the workflow and the responsibilities that come after that call is over. I mean, you need someone's help in the room. And so I cannot imagine what it would be like, again, if our boys were 7 or 8 still instead of 13.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Nick Valentine says hard to work construction from home. Kids are learning to adapt just as much as their parents. And then Virginia Carlson is confirming, Mr. Carney, that it's our girl.
Oh,
thank you, Jenny, for confirming.
Bree Ryder also says that she's working full-time while trying to take care of my mom and grandma. So she's got the generational thing there going in her family as well. Lynette Anderson says, I don't work, and if I did, I wouldn't leave my son home all day alone. I feel so bad for everyone who has to work and balance this. Yeah.
What's tough is there's no end in sight necessarily, right?
Right.
Portland, Salem, Beaverton, 3 of the largest school districts in Oregon have all decided in recent weeks that they're going to extend distance learning into, generally speaking, I want to say beginning of February. And so now you're getting to like, okay, February, geez, are they just going to extend it to spring break at that point? And then once we get past spring break, now you're dealing with April, May. You start to see a picture here where school never gets back to in-person learning this year, right?
Yeah, Drew, we had our teacher parent conferences last Thursday and Friday up in Vancouver Public. Of course, it was a Zoom call. And every single, I think this is right, every single discussion that we had with the teacher began with the teacher saying, boy, I hope we can get the kids back into the class next year. That's so important. Having no idea if it's going to happen, but every single teacher brought that up, how they desperately want to get that back when we can. Yeah.
Jean White Stefik, good morning to you. She says, oh my gosh, darn it.
You lost it.
Quit my small business to help my young kids' online school since we have no choice in Oregon. Mindy Smoke says we both work from home, have flexible companies, have one middle schooler, and use a learning pod 1 day a week.
Terry Hogenkamp, who I know, Terry, you watch us regularly here on Sunrise Extra, weighing in with great comments. Often. Today's comment is this from Terry. She says, I've been working from home for years. My issue is that once I'm off of work, I have to cart my daughter around. She says her daughter has 2 toddlers and no car, so Terry ends up doing runs to the grocery store, the laundromat. No time to keep up my own place, she says. I'm at a dead run from 5 a.m. till 8 or 9 o'clock at night.
The comments are really starting to come in. I'll be reading one and then my phone will flip and I'll lose it, but I just wanted to get back to Mindy real quick because she says that they're using a learning pod 1 day a week, so we're not much impacted. However, I see friends with multiple kids and little struggling with how to make it work every day. I guess they're struggling to make it work every day, even with financially secure 2 working parents. It's with so many, especially women, stopping or cutting back their work, it'll impact them and the economy for years. That is one of the things that we see when you talk about women dropping out of the workforce. And it's not just a COVID thing, but oftentimes women make choices to stay home for any period of time with their kids, and it does impact them financially because they have a gap in their resume, and that typically men won't have if they're the ones who are going to be the primary financial source in the household. But that, she's absolutely right, that is something that women are making the sacrifice to do for their families.
It's tough. We go back 13 years ago now when the boys were born, and Mia made a choice back then to stay home. And part of the reason was we weighed the childcare expenses month to month versus what she was making, and it didn't pencil out. It was like she basically made enough back then to cover almost the childcare. It would have actually cost us a little more than what she was making because, twins in diapers in childcare, costly.
You bet.
So she stayed home and she ended up doing that for 4 years. And I always, I admired what she did in terms of leaving her career, walking away for 4 years, then getting back into it, and then climbing back up as quickly as she did in the marketing field, which is what she does for work. And like I just told you, she's the director of operations, which is a pretty lofty title, but she does have a lot of responsibilities that come with that job. And she did that in the what's 13 minus 4? In 9 years, she kind of got herself back to where she was and then much higher. To ask her to go again, to walk away again, I think that would be very tough for her. We haven't even had that discussion. I don't think it's going to be necessary, again, because the boys are old enough now. But man, if this was 5 years ago, we'd be in that situation again and then at one point she'd say, hey, when's it your turn, right? When is it your turn to stop working?
Well, you actually could probably still do this show and get in a good half of your day before anybody ever woke up at 7 or 7:30. That's the thing. I feel like on this shift you sacrifice sleep, but it is a fantastic job if you have children, because you're there in the afternoon to pick them up from school, back in the day, or you're there for dinner or lessons or programs in the evening. But you don't get very much sleep when you're raising the little ones. But I would not have, changed a thing raising my 2.
This was a good shift for us in that, like you just said, one of us was always there from when the kids were younger. One of us was always there, in this case my wife, to send them off to school even when she went back to work. And then I was always there when they came home from school. So that worked out perfectly where we didn't need that child care option. And that's why this shift has always been so good. I start to question it now as they're getting older. Why am I still doing this sunrise shift? And then the employer reminds me, because you have to. We're not giving you another option. This is your job. You want it or not.
You love working with Rod and I and Nina, right?
That's absolutely true, actually. Absolutely true. Terry weighed back in saying that I forgot to mention that my 3-year-old grandson is also on the spectrum at a severe level. So he's very vocal, pretty much nonverbal though. We're working towards her daughter moving back in so I can watch the boys in the evening so she can go to work. She needs a break so badly though. It is really a tough situation that I can tell you quite frankly, you know how serious Mia was, Brenda, and I don't know if I told you this, Rob, but in the beginning of the pandemic, you know, my wife was super careful, like, hey, you just went to the grocery store, strip off all your clothes, don't step into the house. And she has definitely got a little more laxed with all that stuff for sure. And by a little, I mean a lot, I would say, a lot more laxed. And I think if they asked her tomorrow, hey, are you cool with the boys going into the school? You feel comfortable with that? I think she would say yes. I think she's ready. You know, it's to that point now where she feels like she has seen enough of what the pandemic has done in our house with the distance learning, and she's ready to at least give it a go and see what happens if the kids go back to school. That's
Nick,
just one mom's opinion.
Yeah, no, and that's a valid opinion. Nick Valentine weighs back in and says, the real heroes here are the teachers. I bet the parents all have a newfound respect for what they do and how hard they work. Yeah. Absolutely. I always found that as a mom, I am the last person that is going to deal well with my children to actually have to teach them. Right. Doesn't it seem like, especially at a certain age, they'll be, you know, better for anybody else except mom or dad. It is hard when you have to hands-on teach your own kids something.
Yeah, that goes for sports as well as academics, right? At some point you have to stop being the one telling your son or daughter how to kick the soccer ball or swing the bat. Like, they don't want to hear from you anymore. And it comes better from a coach, far better from a coach in most cases. I know we have to wrap this up here soon because we're getting to that time. We have to do the Today Show cut-ins on TV. But this will be a topic, I know, Brendan and Rod, that we'll continue to tackle and continue to get updates on as we move through the school year. I just can't imagine what this school year is going to look like. I pretty much can see what it looks like through the holidays. Who knows what it's going to continue to look like into the 2021 part of the school year, right?
Yeah, let's just focus on the moment. I don't think anybody can take much more than, you know,
what's right in front of them.
Exactly. Stay present. Thank you for joining us today, though. We appreciate you watching on the screen.
Well, there's a screen involved.
The stream is what I meant to say. Hope you have a great morning.